Hey everyone, Josh here, and it is time for another collection video. Today we're going to visit a collector named Jason, and Jason is a collector I've known for about a year now, and he is a member, or he is actually one of the administrators of the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, you may have heard me mention this group, and what they are, they're a Star Wars collecting group here in the state of Georgia, and you can find these guys on Facebook. Again, they are the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, and Jason is an administrator of this group, and I recently reached out to him to do some trading. I traded him some of the old Burger King glasses for some action figures. And when I reached out to him, I also asked him if, when I came over to his house, if we could film his collection, and he was very kind and very generous, and he offered to let me come into his house and film his collection. And one of the things you're going to see about Jason in this video is Jason is a very passionate collector, and that is one of the things I love about this hobby and being a member of a group like the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, because I have a passion for collecting Star Wars and Star Wars toys, and you may too. And if you do, I highly recommend you find a group like the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors. For me, it's made the entire experience of having this hobby and being involved in it much more enjoyable, because it's one thing to collect this stuff and have a passion for it, but when you go out and interact with other collectors and other people who have a passion for it, it makes the whole thing, the whole hobby, much more enjoyable. And it's just my personal opinion, but I recommend, if you're really into doing this kind of stuff, look in your area and see if you can find a collecting group on Facebook or some other social media format. But we're here to talk about Jason and his collection, but that's one of the things I like about Jason and being around him is he's very passionate about this stuff, the collecting, and just the fandom in general. He's also does the costuming. He's a member of the 501st, which, if you don't know what that is, it is a Star Wars costuming group, and he dresses as a stormtrooper, and he also does Ghostbusters costuming and Pirates of the Caribbean costuming. He does one of the best Jack Sparrows I've ever seen. When he dresses up as Jack Sparrow, he looks just like Johnny Depp in the movie. It's amazing. But if you're in the Atlanta area and you go to Dragon Con or Atlanta Comic Con, you'll probably see Jason in being involved in this community. And that's just one of the things you'll see about him in this video, because he also collects Star Wars, he collects DC, Marvel, little Pirates of the Caribbean, and Ghostbusters, but he's very passionate about the hobby, and he's very passionate about the community. And so let's go ahead and take a look at his video. I sat down with Jason for about 10 minutes before we looked at his room and just asked him a few questions about Star Wars, and then we did a walkthrough of his collection. So here it is. Let's look at Jason's collection. Alright everyone, I'm here with Jason, and Jason is one of 4 administrators for the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, and he has graciously invited me into his house to film his collection. And before we get that far, I just wanted to sit down with him for a few minutes and talk Star Wars and talk collecting. And thank you, Jason, for inviting us into your house and showing us your collection. But let's talk about collecting first. So, as adult collectors, we both have great memories of Star Wars. What is your first memory of Star Wars that you remember?
We would probably be seeing the Empire at a movie theater in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on family vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, my only one I can remember in theaters is Return of the Jedi.
Right.
My parents told me I saw the other two, but the only one I remember is Return of the Jedi.
It was awesome.
Okay. How long have you been collecting seriously?
Well, I'd say for a large part of my life. I guess as soon as you get to be a teenager and have your own money to spend, then that's when I started collecting. It was like, oh, well, I can buy the things that my parents didn't buy me when I was a kid, and yeah, But yeah, mostly since then.
I'd have to say that's true for me too. About teenage, when you start making your own money, that's when I started doing it seriously too. Okay. Do you remember what got you started collecting Star Wars? Like what triggered it or what event? Because I remember for me it was the release of Power of the Force 2.
Well, I would say that would probably be the same for me. I mean, I collected collected Star Wars when I was a kid, but as far as being an adult, I would definitely have to say the Power of the Force 2 stuff. I just remember in the 90s it coming back out again, and just like, oh shit, I didn't have that figure when I was a kid. I'm gonna have that figure now. Yeah, I would say that definitely sparked a big thing.
Do you remember what the first item was you bought that you considered as part of your collection? The very first thing you ever purchased? Because I remember for me it would have been the first release, first wave of Power of the Force 2.
Same. Luke, Leia, Vader, Han, Stormtrooper, all those red cards.
Yep.
And it got to be like, that was well before I started going to conventions and stuff. But then once I got introduced to stuff like Dragon Con and a lot of these other smaller conventions and meeting celebrities and stuff, those red cards and what turned into the green cards after that, those are the figures that I took and get autographed by celebrities and whatnot. So I still have some of those, and like, as much as I've gotten into the vintage stuff, I'm like that stuff still means something. It's kind of not value-wise. It doesn't mean anything, but
I'm probably one of the few collectors I knew actually held on to their Power of the Force 2. I still I didn't sell any of it. So.
Well, I still got mine too.
Okay, what would you say is your favorite line to collect right now?
Oh, well, about 2 years I got the vintage bug. So I bought a Stormtrooper at the last Celebration Orlando, and then from then it was on. Like, I was determined to get the all 92 plus figures, which I have all of those now. Now I'm on to play sets and ships and stuff. And then others things, like, I know you've already done videos with like Narayan and Justin, and like they've got me turned on to like prototypes and pre-production stuff.
Yep.
And so I'm still digging that, although I can't afford like vintage versions of those kind of things, but I'm kind of digging that now.
What would you say is your favorite character to collect?
Emperor.
Emperor? Okay. Well, I can see one of your display cases in front of me. I know that, but people watching the video don't know. But Emperor is a favorite character. Okay. Do you have a favorite piece or favorite item in your collection that you can cite off the top of your head?
Man, it's really hard to pick one. And I almost want to say like the one that I would pick is not an Emperor one, but okay, I'm gonna pick my my Slave Leia Unleashed figure, just because I had that.
It's off camera, just to the right of us here.
I had that. That's one of the things that I got signed by Carrie when she was still alive. So yeah, that one.
Okay, I love that line, the Unleashed line. I love the detail in it. They're really great. Okay, I'd say just because you're the same age, or similar age to me, favorite movie trilogy so far?
What's the original trilogy?
Everyone's got it. I know that the prequels don't get a lot of love, but I really like them. I loved seeing the origin story of Darth Vader. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I get some of the criticisms, but
I
I
won't criticize them. I don't like them better than the original movies. But,
no.
To some people, I mean, that's their original movies.
Yeah.
Like, we got guys in my collecting group. They're young, like teenagers, and like that's what they grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
But I love Force Awakens.
We'll get to that.
And I think the Rise of Skywalker is going to be awesome.
I have high hopes.
I'm anticipating it being really awesome.
Okay. What would you say is your favorite Star Wars content that's not one of the films? Movie, TV show, or movie, TV show, comic book, video game, or anything like that?
I'm not much of a gamer. I would probably so I guess I would have to go. It depends on. I guess I have two answers. Like I guess I would have to go comic books. But I didn't get into comic books until I was older. So the Republic series that came out in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, that stuff is really amazing. And then I've read something that's came out I think within the past year, some of the Darth Vader series, and that's been really good too.
Yeah, I've seen some reviews online of those comics.
But then I guess my alternate answer would be costuming, if that fits into the question.
Yeah. Okay, I know the answer to this, but people watching don't. Are you, as a collector, willing to let go of pieces of your collection, sell, or trade?
Well, sometimes I do acquire stuff that I may already have just for the sake of trading for something that I don't have, or selling in order to get something that I don't have. But pretty much most of the things that you see in my room, I more than likely don't want to part with.
But what you guys haven't seen off camera is one of the reasons I'm at Jason's house today is we're filming this video, but also we've made some trades ourselves. So he has two parts to his collection. There's what we're going to film in this room, and then there's a large, what would you say, storage area?
Yeah, I have a room downstairs that's full of box modern stuff.
Like most collectors, you have a display area, and then you have your storage.
What you don't have room for.
Okay, and then other than figures and toys, is there something in the Star Wars universe you like collecting? Like maybe the coins or autographs or...
autographs. I love collecting autographs. I guess that started when I started going to conventions. Anything. Burger King glasses, vinyl records of the soundtracks. I got a laser disc.
Yes, I
about
remember
a month
laser discs.
I mean, I got that thing for like $5 off Marketplace. So I'm like, if it says Star Wars on it and it's from like the 80s, I'll probably add it to my collection.
See, that's one of the problems I have too, is I can walk in the store and if it's a puzzle or a plate set and it says Star Wars on it, I'll buy it. It's like a disease. So, alright, and here's the final question before we take a look at your collection. And this is, I like asking all collectors and fans this question, mostly because it's a hot topic right now. It's got the fan universe lit up, but what was your opinion of The Last Jedi? I have mine. I'm curious what yours is.
It wasn't my favorite. There was some stuff that I really liked about it, and there was some stuff that I was that felt weird. But I will never say I disliked a Star Wars movie.
I like that answer more than some people have. Extreme, I love it all, or extreme, I hated it all. I'm the same way. There were things I liked, there were things I didn't like, and it's hard for me to absolutely hate it 100% because I have seen other fans have that kind of position on it versus it's Star Wars. I love every ounce of it, and I can't say that either, but that was all the questions I wanted to ask Jason, and we're going to turn the camera around and do a walkthrough of his collection. So let's check it out, man.
Cool.
All right, guys, here we are, and we're going to start in the corner of Jason's room where he has his collection on display, and we're looking at the head of his bed right now. So tell me what we're looking at. Obviously, we got some Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the Ghostbusters is, it's not vintage. It's a line from like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Aside from Star Wars, that's one of the other things that I'm really big into. I think we may have already mentioned the fact that I get into costuming and whatnot. Ghostbusters is one of my other costumes that I have aside from a stormtrooper.
Okay.
The Star Wars stuff is more figures that are from the Unleashed collection. When I mentioned my favorite being the Slave Leia that I have.
So this Trooper and Vader, those are from the Unleashed collection.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are these two?
Those
older
are
looking?
from the Sigma line. That was like I think maybe late 80s. They did a lot of those porcelain figurines.
Okay.
Those are the only two. Those and the Emperor are the only ones that I have so far.
Okay, and so pulling back from there, we're looking at the head of Jason's bed, and he's got some vintage lunch boxes. What is that? Charlie's Angels and the Fall Guy?
Yeah, Superpower Speed Buggy. That was another. So I guess probably early 90s, I was really big into like Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids. That was like my favorite band for the large majority of the 90s. And that's when I started collecting lunch boxes. Actually, as I was older, not a kid, they had a big lunchbox thing when they were like a small band, and that's the reason I started collecting those. I actually probably got 30 more down in my other room in storage.
So then I'm seeing this Star Destroyer model down here. What is this?
It's just one of those Wi-Fi speakers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Joker.
Yes. Okay, so going up from there, there's some shelving above his bed, and then I see you got Justice League.
Yeah, Justice League, and then probably 80% of those figures are from the Batman Hush storyline.
Oh, okay.
And as far as like comic book goes, the Batman Hush storylines is one of my favorite stories.
Okay. And then we're going to move, and we're in Jason's bedroom, so I'm kind of working around his bed a little bit, guys, so you're going to have to work with me here. And then so over here we have what looks like more DC posters.
Ripped off some artwork that I like, and I was like, I want that as a poster, or I'll make it myself.
Okay. And then I see an Aquaman poster. And then we're going to roll over here onto the shelving, and you're also a Jurassic Park fan, I see. And so, oops. Okay. So you have what is this big play set? Is this?
It's the Jurassic Park compound, which Kenner made back in the early 90s.
Okay.
I still do not have a complete working one. That looks like it's the remnant of two of the inside pieces to one that I'm hoping I can switch out some electronics. I also like, since a lot of this stuff, like collecting this vintage stuff is pretty expensive, so sometimes I try to find a beater version of something and try to modify it for less than what it would cost me to buy a brand new one that's complete. And that Jurassic Park compound is one of those projects that's kind of not gotten very far.
Okay, and then so getting back into Star Wars here, guys. On top up here on a shelf, he has a vintage Y-wing. Now, is the ship actually in there?
No, it's actually this one right here.
Okay, so here's just the box. He's got an upper shelf. Got some music, Marilyn Manson memorabilia and posters, and coming back down, and then over here we're looking at a collection of Black Series. There's the ATST 3 3/4 scale.
Yeah. And
then the Leia collection. I'm a big Black Series. I love the Black Series.
Yeah. I personally pick and choose. But aside from the Emperor, the Leia is probably one of my second favorite characters. So I try to collect as many things of her as I can.
And so here on the wall, this is the Y-wing.
Yeah, I've seen a video of some guy that was hanging his ships up that way, and I'm like, that's really cool. I don't have a lot of room to set stuff down, but I got some wall space.
Okay, and then over here, we're getting into your vintage run. Is this part of your complete run?
Yes. So this portion of the room is my Return of the Jedi stuff. So there's the Ewok village, not my childhood Ewok village, but one that I've acquired since I've been an adult. And then pretty much all of my indoor related figures. Yeah.
Very nice. You got the coins laying out.
Yeah, I'm still missing a Luke, a Poncho Luke, indoor Luke coin. And then, yeah, kind of Anakin coin, which, yeah.
You found one of the May the Fourth be with you pins.
Actually,
I saw a lot of people hunting those.
A guy in our group actually picked that up for me.
Okay, and then so coming up from here, we have what would be, you were telling me earlier, this is your run, Return of the Jedi run of your vintage collection.
Correct.
Up here. Okay. And so for those of you who might not know what this case is, I've seen a lot of people online talking about this. It's kind of like a little collector life hack is if you go to some of the craft stores.
It's Michael's, I believe.
Like Michael's, they have display boxes for baseball bats. And they fit action figures perfectly. So that's what he's got here. It's a baseball bat display case for autographed bats, and then you can display your figures in there, and they're protected from dust. And I've seen other collectors talk about that online. I thought it was a genius idea. And then above that, you have someone still in the bubble.
Yeah, I wish I had loose ones, but a deal came up at one time where I was able to get 5 of those for a pretty good price. So yeah, that's why those are cut cards. Maybe one day I'll get loose versions too.
But that's part of the fun of doing this, is hunting the deals. And
that one Jedi Luke's my first and only graded thing. Well, it's not my only graded thing, but it's the first and only thing that I've ever had graded.
Okay, and then I see you got a complete, looks like Jabba playset. I remember that from my childhood. I love that thing. And going down from there, he has the Rancor from the Vintage Collection, or the...
Yeah.
I guess that's the correct terms for it. And then the Rancor Keeper, a Gamorrean Guard, and then I see you have an autographed Ula.
Yep.
And you got to meet her recently, I saw that.
Yeah, I've actually met her twice. I met her at Celebration 3, and then, I met her at a comic book store for May the 4th this year.
And then below that, we have an autographed, and my light is totally glaring that, an autographed Carrie Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to meet her?
Yes.
Very cool. And then below there, another portrait, or I guess photograph of Carrie.
That was the poster that they gave out after the Carrie Fisher tribute at Celebration in Orlando.
Okay. Okay, and then so from the below his Jedi stuff and his Ewok village, and go down from there, you can see he's got the Star Wars curtains, and then you have some G.I. Joe, vintage G.I. Joe out.
Yeah, I wasn't really planning on collecting G.I. Joe stuff, but I bought a box of stuff just so hoping I could trade G.I. Joe stuff for Star Wars stuff, and I ended up with a few parts of that Night Raven,
Okay.
and from there I found a shell, and the Night Raven was actually one of those projects where I pieced it together one piece at a time, getting parts here and there, and then from there I was like, okay, I did really love that cartoon when I was a kid. Maybe I'll try to collect some of my favorite Cobra people.
And then what is this Hoth play set down here? I don't recognize it offhand. From what line?
From in the Empire Strikes Back.
Is it 3 3/4 Kenner?
Yes,
Okay.
vintage Kenner.
Vintage Kenner.
1980.
Is that a vintage Canon?
Canon, yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of it myself off the top of my head.
Tripod Canon in it.
Okay, and then below there we have some VHS collection, and then you mentioned it several times. What's that?
What's a VHS?
Those are DVDs. I'm sorry. It's just because they're box sets. They look like the size.
I guess that Stranger Things could look like a VHS.
Okay. Some people collect them. I've seen it. So you have mentioned a couple times you cosplay, you do the costuming, and one of your costumes is the Ghostbusters, and then is this your proton pack?
Yeah, that's one of the spirit packs, the Halloween costume store, and then I pretty much modify it that hopefully it looks better than the spirit pack. It still doesn't have any of the bells and whistles to it yet.
Okay, and then going from there, we have a vintage line Millennium Falcon hanging on the wall.
Yeah, that's one of my projects that's kind of still in the works. I've been building it a little bit at a time.
And then up from there, it looks like you have a Princess Leia tribute display.
Yeah, I like Leia.
And I put a horrible shadow on it. There we go. I like that photograph of her. I've never seen that before.
There's like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 7 postcards there of like pictures that I think her brother had released to the public after she passed away. They're not like family photos or anything, but I still thought it was cool.
Stuff he released. And then that's a Kenny Baker autograph?
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And then this was the piece you were talking about when we were talking earlier.
Yeah, I apologize that it's in that yellowed, what do you call those things? A star case. I can take it out if
you're
you want
protecting it. But this is it's a line called the Unleashed series, and I've got several of them in my collection, and but they're just very detailed, like statues of the characters, and they're one of my favorites. And I don't know if I'm correct. Weren't they from the McFarlane line? Didn't he make them?
No, I think they're still Hasbro.
Oh, okay. I can't remember. And then going there from there, we have a picture of Carrie Fisher from Return of the Jedi. And then over here in his corner, we have, isn't this, what are the retro?
The retro line?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Hasbro's decided to do some of the original Kenner figures. They're slightly different. I haven't opened mine, but I've seen them opened, and you can definitely tell the difference.
Well, I've seen photograph comparisons of them. They look pretty close to me, but you say when you actually handle them, they're different.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you have the 40th anniversary Black Series.
Yeah, I actually have all of those, but the Leia's the only one that I have display, just like because I was like, well, I got a Leia section.
So what is this little display case here?
So that was one of the first 12 displays. I acquired that, I guess, within the past year, and I've been trying to fill it up. But when I was collecting my loose run, just by chance, like practically everything was a Hong Kong COO. So when I got that case, I was like, well, I'm going to try to fill it up with different variants of the figures. So like that Chewbacca, the Farm Boy Luke and the Leia, and the R2, they're Taiwan figures.
Okay.
The Darth Vader is a no COO. I think the Stormtrooper is a raised bar China. I can't remember what the Death Squad commander is. I think he might just be, he might only have a red stripe on his chest instead of red and blue. And I can't remember what's different about C-3PO. And I can't remember what's different about the Jawa, but...
Oh, I see the Jawa. Okay, yeah, he's kind of hidden in the corner there. All right. Now, I haven't bought any of these yet. I'm looking at your Elite Series Leia from the
Disney. You
Disney.
missed the boat on that shit, man. Disney clearanced all of those out like cheap, and I got her and Vader for like nothing.
Really? Now, those aren't die-cast. What's the... I know there was one line they did. It was...
Yeah, they did do some die-cast
stuff. Did they do some die-cast? That one isn't. That's plastic.
Yeah.
Have you taken that out of the box?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it looks perfectly displayed the way it is, I think.
Yeah, that is a really nice figure. I haven't started with the Elite Series yet.
Maybe I should have bought 2 of them.
It's one of those things, man. You gotta cut yourself off. Okay, so then we're rolling into the corner of the room here, and he's got tucked up in the corner a TIE Interceptor.
Yeah, that's probably one of my that and the Imperial Shuttle was my 2 favorite ships. I don't have a shuttle yet, but I actually have 2 of those Interceptors. I have one in the box that's got like stickers not applied. Yeah,
Okay, and then so from here I'm moving. He has another little shelf on the mounted on the wall. What are these little statues that you have in front?
That's Gentle Giant stuff.
Gentle Giant, okay.
And I really dig those. I think those look
really
amazing.
Nice.
And I don't know. I feel like it's the poor man's high-end collectible.
And then behind there you have a couple Black Series tucked back there. See, is that Admiral Piet?
Is that Piet?
In the back there, and then
a Sandy and a Gammy.
Is that a Sandstorm Trooper or is that Mimban?
Oh, you're right. That is from Solo.
And then a Gamorrean Guard Black Series. But I really like those statues. Those are really nice. I really like the, I guess, Emperor or Chancellor helped. I guess that's him in transition.
Well, yeah, I guess it's Emperor Palpatine, but yeah, it's Revenge of the Sith, not Return.
And then you got an Imperial Officer. It's Biker Scout. I like the Tarkin one. Greedo, and there's a Saint. Now, so then below there you have a couple. These are more the Unleashed, but you actually unboxed them.
Yeah.
And I've always admired that Boba Fett one, but I've never had it.
And I've been told there's actually room under here that some guy on one of the Facebook groups is like, you can put a little $3 light from Walmart under it, and it lights this thing up really cool.
Yeah, it looks translucent. That does seem like a cool idea. And then you have a Bosk one. I've seen that in the store. It's one of those lines I regret in the past when they were in the stores. I didn't buy more of them. I only have, I think, 2 or 3 in my collection. And then IG-88 is also Unleashed. Mm-hmm. And then you have a retro DL-44.
Yeah, I found that at a yard sale about maybe a month ago, and I actually got one of our club members, Brent Dunstan, to help me get it working again.
And then what is this case you have behind it?
It's one of the carry cases from the late 70s, and it's actually unused. It's got an unused sticker sheet and inserts inside of that. But a friend of mine in the Carolina Garrison had 2 of those that he bought when he was a kid, and stashed them away and never did anything with them. So they're like.
So then, what is this?
A coloring book.
Coloring book
that
back
I got
there?
At one of our last meetups, and then just a couple small books that I've seen in an antique store. I mean, it's like we were talking about. If it's got Star Wars, sure, I'll take it.
And then some more Unleashed figures in front of that. You have a Sand Troop or a Sand Person. And then, is this the same one that you have in the case?
It is.
To the side here. So this is the Leia in the Unleashed, but unboxed. And you can see what I'm talking about. These are beautiful. I guess they're statues, really. I mean, that's, I guess, the proper term for them. But
yeah, well, they're not articulate.
Yeah. So, and then going from there, we have. This is catching my eyes down here in front of his TV.
Yeah.
Is this
my E11 blaster from a Stormtrooper costume?
Okay, so he also cosplays in full Stormtrooper. You remember the 501st?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
TK7404.
And then he's got a thing over here next to his bed, commemorating that number. And then continuing with the collection here. So is that a Jeremy Bullock autographed?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. And then coming up from there, he's got, I believe these are vintage line snow speeder.
Speeder and a cloud car.
And a cloud car. And how are those hanging on the wall? How do you have them?
I pretty much like fishing line and a wall hanger.
Okay. And then going down from there on his floor, and it's actually, you're seeing some of my lighting equipment and stuff. There's you have an AT-AT and an ATST on the ground. Now, are these vintage line or are these Power of the Force?
They're modern.
Okay, that's because that looks a lot like my AT-AT, and I don't have any vintage stuff. But that's just my tripod link you guys are seeing. And then going over from here, we're looking at, and you guys are going to have to excuse us a little bit. I got some light cords in the way, and I'm going to move some lights around a little bit too to help us out here. Image run in this
Correct.
small case.
So you're starting out of my first 20, I guess, and one of the lunch boxes, and then on my second shelf is my Empire stuff.
Very nice. And then up again, this is the first, on the first shelf is the first run.
And the only thing, I know I said that I finished my loose run. There's one thing left that I would really like to get to really feel like I really did finish my loose run, which is a Droid Factory R2. That's one of the last things that I need. That, and then there's like variations of things out there that I don't have yet. Like I don't have a Vinyl Cape Jawa yet, or that might be. I mean, I got a blue snag.
Now, above this is these are 12-inch vintage.
Yep.
Very
well,
nice.
except for Tarkin and the Death Star droid was never done in a vintage line, but
So
Tarkin is there because I felt like and the Death Squad Commander is not vintage.
And are they collector series?
I think so. Yes. Okay. Well, no, they're not. But I felt like Tarkin needed to be in there, even if he's not vintage.
Yeah, it's pretty appropriate. Okay, and so this is catching my eye right here. The Billy D with the cork.
I was kind of disappointed with that when I got it in the mail. Like I ordered it off Facebook, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious!" But I thought the logo was going to be actually printed on the cape, and I think it's a sticker that's been applied to a cape. But it's still funny.
Yeah, that is amazing. Okay, so then going up from your 12-inch, 12-inch vintage line, you got some 3 3/4-inch Black Series.
Yeah. Now, if we get back to talking about Black Series stuff, I have most of the 3 3/4 Black Series. They're just not on display.
Okay.
It's just the larger ones I kind of pick and choose on.
And then there's a Sam person. And then was this photo of the cast photo of any significance?
Yeah, those were like promo photos from back in the late 70s, early 80s, I guess.
Okay.
Well, those would have been 70s.
And then up from there, we have a Darth Vader photograph. And another, it looks like a production photograph of Tarkin.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some solo
kind of
promotional art.
Target one day when they were switching out their stuff. I was like, I'm taking this.
And then a vintage line X-Wing with.
Yeah, that was my.
Is that Luke in there?
Yeah, that was my first restoration project. That thing looked like shit when I got it. It looked like it had been buried in red mud for 30 years.
Looks brand new.
Yeah. Well, I retro-brighted it, and those are original stickers that I got from other X-Wings that weren't that great, but they had a salvageable sticker to them.
Okay, so I'm catching it on camera, so I'm going to mention it. Across the hallway there's a Willow poster. I love Willow. And then up top here you have some carded. I'm getting some light glare here.
Right before I even finished my loose run, I was like, oh shit, I'm almost done with my loose run. What am I going to collect next? So I was like, well, I guess the obvious next thing is start to try to get mint on cards.
Okay. I'm getting some glare on your
when
cases
trying
here,
to decide like how I wanted to approach doing mint on cards, I just decided to go with 65Cs. If you're familiar with vintage card backs. And the reason that I went with 65Cs is because it has the Emperor offer in the bottom right corner.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
So with the Emperor being my guy, it only made sense to start mint on cards with that run.
Okay. And so, as you may have heard him talk about earlier, his favorite character to focus collecting on is the Emperor. So we're going to start looking at his Emperor case here. And so above you can see he's got some photographs of some vintage figures.
A Kim Simmons piece that I actually got from him at ICCC last year. And then, I've met Ian several times.
Of Ian?
I think every time he's at a convention, I'm like, I gotta get something new signed.
Okay, so this is the Unleashed Emperor. Is that what we're looking at on top of your case here? Very cool. Love this thing.
It is pretty
went awesome. A little heavy on the lightning bolts though, didn't they? I can barely see the figure.
Well, it comes with two pairs of hands, but I like it displayed with the lightning.
Okay, so then going down from there, he's got a nice display case here with his...
So yeah, Star Wars Celebration Chicago was pretty damn awesome for me this past time as far as like collecting stuff. The first piece I acquired with the help of Justin, it's one of the Sigma pieces that we seen the Han and the Luke earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So the piece on the left side is a revised sample piece, like that's a pre-production piece. And the piece on the right is the actual what it ended up looking like.
Okay. And so then, what are these little tiny Chancellor Palpatine or Senator Palpatine?
Chancellor.
Okay.
Those were from, like, Pepsi did a promotion in Japan back when Episode 1 came out, and in Japan there were Pepsi bottles with those toppers. And the guy Glenn in our group actually got me that production piece, pre-production piece, and afterwards I was like, well, I got to buy the production piece to set beside of it.
Okay, so the white one is the little pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I recognize this next piece here. This is Power FX.
Yep.
From Power of the Force, and you don't have the lightning bolts in.
No. So the piece on the left is a pre-production first shot of that figure.
Really?
And the one on the right is the actual production figure.
Okay. Yeah, he's one I got in my collection. I really like that piece. I like how the lightning bolts light up.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I love the background that it come with.
And then, so down from there, he's got a nice collection of carded and cards of
the first
Emperor
thing you
Palpatine.
see is a Lily Letty card back. And then the next thing is a Power of the Force 2 proof card. And then a Power of the Force that I had autographed. And then I think that one in the middle might be a Canadian. And then the Tri logo, and then that applause that I think is from the 90s.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I think I have some of those in my collection. I have the Fett Invader of those.
And that coin that's back in the back is a prototype Power of the Force 2 coin.
Getting some glare off that bag. It's getting a little hard to film
Sorry.
it, but oh, it's my lights. It's not you. So then you got some patches for the Emperor.
Yep. The Emperor offer that would have came out in 1983 before the actual figure came out.
Yep.
I think it was
Isn't that the figure right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the flyer might have been a UK thing.
Are these little white boxes some of the boxed figures?
So they're both Emperor figures. The one on the bottom is pretty much this right here, with the catalog, still sealed, never addressed, and mailed to a little kid, like from the factory, I guess. And the first one is the exact same thing, only it has been addressed and opened, and then just the baggie and the catalog by itself.
Okay, and then down here it looks like you have a collection of multiple vintage.
Yep. So the first row of figures is your standard U.S. Kenner Emperor. The second row, I believe, is like a tri-logo Emperor. The third row is Lily Letty Emperors, and then that last one is a vintage 80s bootleg Emperor.
Oh, really?
Which I need another arm, or I would just like to acquire a complete one day. And then that's a film transparency from the photographer from back in the day that did a lot of the product.
For the card backs?
Mm-hmm.
Very
And
cool.
right behind it, you can see that catalog is like one of the catalogs that used to come in toys and stuff. So the film transparency that I have is almost that page right there.
I remember flipping through those. I used to love those little things because we didn't have Facebook and internet back then. And then behind there, is that a boxed interceptor, or is that just the box?
Yeah, I got that for Christmas from Santa / Mom and Dad this past year.
Okay, and then so coming down from there, we're about the center of the shelf. What is this?
Shadows of the Empire model kit. It's modern, or it's at least from the 90s. But I don't know. The Emperor's my guy. And then a sideshow piece of him on that thing.
The
like, I don't know
hologram
if
from
you've seen
Phantom Menace.
the cartoon that was like the Samurai Jack style.
Yeah,
cartoon.
the micro series.
Yeah,
like 2003, 4 era. I know what you're talking about. It's the Clone Wars.
So yeah, yes. So that's a sideshow.
But didn't
piece
that
from there.
appear in Phantom Menace too? Remember at the end of the movie?
Correct.
Yeah. So, and then I have this in my collection, the Action Collection Emperor 12-inch, but he's obviously still in box.
Yeah, I just don't have enough room to show all my Emperor stuff. Really good.
And then in there we have some carded.
Yep. Modern stuff.
What is that? That's the Clone Wars collection, and then I see the
Power of the Force 2
Power of the
that came
Force
with
2
coins.
with coined.
And the Mighty Mugs and
Is that an Emperor? Okay, Emperor Palpatine Mighty Mugs. I just picked up Darth Maul.
And then is that Play School?
Galactic Heroes. Yes, I collect those. So does Glenn's real big on those. Shout out to Glenn.
Emperor Eminem.
Really nice. Okay, and then we're coming down from there, and looks like Revenge of the Sith to me, 12
Revenge
inch.
of the Sith Palpatine, regular Hasbro. So the piece on the right behind him, that's a Dutch Clipper. So that's one of my few foreign pieces, I guess. I would love to collect. I would love to have one of everything that the Emperor ever came on, like every packaging variation.
That's ambitious.
Yeah.
And then so down below on the very bottom shelf, I'm seeing here. Oh, whoa! There's something way in the back there. Oh.
Oh yeah, that Target thing that came out earlier this
year. From the Force Link line. Okay. And then, could you pull that photo out? Because you were talking about meeting Ian, and I see this is you in your armor.
Yeah.
Meeting him. Now, which convention is this?
This was in Orlando.
I
don't know if it was
2015. Or was that 2016?
I think 15.
Yeah, because then that was the year they did the Force Awakens trailer, wasn't it? So, okay, very cool.
That's,
more autographed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
the other guy.
Yeah. Now, whose autograph is that?
Clive? Is it Clive Revell? Is that how you say his name?
I'm not sure. I'm not positive on the actor's name who did that, but I recognize him from before. I'm getting glare on that photo. Before the modifications to Empire Strikes Back, that was what the Emperor looked like in that scene. I know exactly what that is. I'm sure there are, at this point, some fans out there who've never seen, some of the younger fans who may have never seen the other Emperor. Believe it was like you were talking about earlier, some of the younger fans that are starting to get older now. So, and then I'm going to guess 3 foot? You have a 3 foot Darth Vader, or is this 4 foot?
Like
My goodness. This thing is awesome.
I don't know if it was exclusive to any particular retailer. I think these were available at Target and Walmart. I'm not sure. But, I waited till they went on clearance, and I was like, I got to have one of those.
That
I
is
usually
pretty
set
cool.
it up next to the Christmas tree.
But it might be hard to tell on video, but if you are standing next to this thing, it's about, 3.5, maybe 4 feet tall. It's really cool. And so, going from there, we're going back up in the... What is this little framed Return of the Jedi piece?
Susan got me that as one of my Christmas presents this past year. And it's got a film negative scene from the movie in it.
There's some horrible glare off that frame.
Yeah.
So it's a film negative from Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Okay. And then coming up here, you got more carded...
Yeah, more of my 65C run. So I think there's 34 to 36 of them. I can't remember exactly how many right this second, but I think I have 12 so far.
And they all have the Emperor offer promo corner piece. I see that. Very nice. I see you're sticking with that. That's going to be a tough...
Yeah, there's
tough
quite a few
collection
of them that are going to be pretty expensive.
Okay, so we're coming back around to the other side of his room, and I see
Yeah, I love the
Avengers.
MCU.
They're crushing it. They're really doing a great job with those films.
I mean, when it comes to comic books, DC is my favorite stuff, but when it comes to the movies, Marvel all the way.
And then we got some few more Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool, Thanos. I'm trying to remember what's coming up. And then what is this? Lego?
Yep. Try not to get into Legos or Pops just because I don't need
wait
to
a
get
minute,
anything.
I'm seeing another. Was that a 12-inch?
Yeah, Bausch Leia.
Yeah, from 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I have that one. But I have the one that was in the 3-pack. I don't know if you remember that. They did one that was a Han, Luke, and Leia 3-pack of that. And then, so you got some Lego Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep. I have 2 of the 3 Pirates of the Caribbean Lego ships, the Black Pearl and Queen Anne's Revenge. This comic, so Disney, Donald Duck is my favorite character, and I noticed in one of my Jack Sparrow Facebook groups a couple years ago, somebody's like, dude, look at this comic, and I was like, dude, I gotta have one of those. So that's actually from the Netherlands.
Oh, okay. Disney's
Jack
getting to the
Sparrow
point where
and-
they own pretty much everything now.
Yes.
And then what do we have here? This is isn't this the Droid Factory?
Jabba's Dungeon playset.
Okay.
One of the 2, the gray one.
And then okay, so
Yeah.
Slayer action figure.
Yeah,
Very
the
cool.
Baphomet, and I'm a huge Slayer fan.
And now, so is this what I think it is right here? Did you meet?
That's Danny Filth from Cradle Filth. I've actually
Okay.
met him. I've met him several times.
I thought that
He's
was
a
different
huge Star
celebrity.
Wars fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've actually seen Cradle Filth at least 3 times in my Stormtrooper armor.
Okay, and then what is that? A rock? concert
Marie,
poster?
it's a place, Marie Laveau in New Orleans.
Okay, so then coming around from there, you brought this out, and
Yeah,
oh, very
because
cool.
we started talking about autographs. So one of my new things is I got one of these Black Series helmets, and I have my friend Hal actually painted up. I don't know if it's going to come through on the video, but it's actually painted 2-tone, just like the one from the movies.
Let me see. I'm gonna turn some lights around here, and hopefully we won't get too
Like you
much
can
light.
actually see some parts that have like a gunmetal type finish to it, and other
Yep.
parts are just the black.
And now the other thing I'm seeing from it is autographs on the top. Now, who
Yes.
autographed this?
So far, Ian has autographed it, the Emperor. Anthony, C-3PO, Julian, and General Veers. And then on top, I think that's where I had Femi Ula from Return of the Jedi. And
So you're trying to get a collection of
Yeah, I
autographs
just
on
want to
the...
fill that bad boy up.
Very cool. Now, I don't have any of these. Doesn't this thing, the helmet, actually come apart
It does.
when you do that? I was wondering.
I haven't actually. I think, we were talking about earlier, I think you can actually put batteries in it and sound and breathe
Now,
like
can you
Vader.
actually wear it?
Yeah. I haven't tried yet.
Oh,
But yeah, it looks pretty nice.
very cool.
But, yeah, I dig it.
Collecting's a deep hole you can get into.
Yes.
All right. Very cool. All right, everyone. That is all of Jason's collection, and I want to thank him again for allowing me into his house with a camera and lights and all that great stuff. And thank you so much for letting us in and showing us your collection and sharing your passion for the hobby with us. We thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Alright guys, there it was. That was Jason's collection, and as you can see, he is a very passionate collector and he really enjoys being part of the community. And again, I just want to thank you, Jason, for letting me into your house with a camera. I know that's not easy to do, and letting me take up half of your Saturday. Thank you so much for your time and being so generous with it. And again, all you guys watching, I just want to say the name of the group again and get the name out there. It is the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, and you can find these guys on Facebook. They're, I believe, the biggest collecting group in the state of Georgia, and they're really growing. So if you're interested, look these guys up, ask to become a member. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. And thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye.